Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching DrBabylon from the European server playing in the Tier 8 Czechoslovakian premium heavy tank. It is the Skoda T-56. This vehicle went into the game a few months ago. I reviewed it, I thought the vehicle was going to be very good. However, I didn't realize just how the whole of the World of Tanks player base was going to perform in it so admirably. So much so that it has one of the best win ratios of any Tier 8 tank. And when you take into account that the only tanks that have a better win ratio than this are the Charlemagne, the Chimera, the ISU-130, the Chieftain T-95, and the IS-5, which are all reward vehicles, or the ISU-130 isn't even really available from public release. This has got the best win ratio of any tank that wasn't either a reward vehicle at one point or costed bonds. It is just a hair's breadth above the Renegade and other vehicles like the Borask and the Emil as well, cementing itself in a position of being a very competitive tank, not only from a damaging perspective, but also from a win ratio perspective. And why is that? Why is this vehicle just so strong? Well, as I said in my review, it's because it has a 130mm main gun for a Tier 8 tank. Usually it's only kind of your Tier 9 or your Tier 10 tanks that get such large caliber guns. That has 460 alpha damage. That doesn't give it the best alpha damage of any Tier 8 premium tank. There is the VK7201K inside the game with 490. But that vehicle doesn't have an autoloader, and that vehicle doesn't have very good damage per minute as well. This tank has a double round burst, something that, as we've seen with the Borask, is just so effective in World of Tanks. And while it does have a fairly long intraclip reload at 3.5 seconds, being able to deliver two 460 damage punches in 3.5 seconds of the first shot is just absolutely monstrous. 920 damage in 3.5 seconds is why this vehicle is so strong. When you combine that with decent enough gun depression, which is sitting at 8 degrees, and while not the best view range, at least it's got some really good frontal hull armor, this thing is just an absolute grinder. Now, DrBabylon is setting up this vehicle for ultimate gun handling. He obviously really likes the combat capacity of the Skoda T-56, and that's what he's going to be going for. I personally don't like to double stack vertical stabilizers and a rotation device on this tank because I feel like the intraclip reload is quite long, and I think you'll do better by using a turbo on the vehicle than you would using a rotation device, because the turbo will help your traverse speed, and more importantly, it's going to allow you to get into position quicker than you would be if you were only using a rotation device on this tank instead. So what DrBabylon is effectively doing is creating the ultimate gun handling because they do stack. And so that means that he's going to be able to unload while moving at a fairly decent ability, because he's going to have about 30% dispersion reduction before we take into account cruise skills. And so you'll notice that DrBabylon, when he's moving around and also in between his shots, he doesn't really have that much aim time. And that's not because the aim time on this tank is all that good. It's actually got 3 seconds aim time, which is quite poor for a Tier 8 heavy. But if you stop the reticle from blooming out, which vertical stabilizers and a rotation device does, that means that you don't even really have to use much of that horrendous 3 seconds aim time to be fully accurate if your vehicle never gets to a point where it's inaccurate in the first place. So DrBabylon is the only person who's killed anyone on his team so far, and what you're seeing here is just where this tank is so good. You can take that chancy shot and it doesn't work out. It bounces off the well-armored T-54 Mod 1. It's no problem, I'm a heavy tank that's got another shot as well. It's a little like an IS-3A, but unlike the IS-3A, which doesn't have the best damage per minute unless you've fully unloaded the tank, this vehicle has 1,936 base damage per minute, which allows it to re-engage very quickly indeed. So unfortunately, DrBabylon unable to hit the Cromwell in that situation, and it looks like maybe the only tank that's going to balance out the Skoda T-56 is maybe a Skoda T-56 on the enemy team. This vehicle currently is sitting at a 53.35% average win ratio on the European server, meaning for everybody For any person who gets the average win ratio on a tank, which is 49%, there's somebody who's pushing up into the high 50s, kind of like about the 57, 58 mark on this vehicle, which is pretty outrageous. So, DrBabylon looks like he overmatches the underplate of the Skoda T-56, and, well, I guess OP fighting OP in that scenario, as Pierre Noir on the enemy team is shut down in their Skoda T-56, and DrBabylon has to feel fairly happy in that situation. Catching this thing reloading is tricky to do because it has a very short reload time of 25 seconds before you reduce it with things like vents and crew skills like Brothers in Arms on the vehicle, and even if you're using a premium consumable. That's definitely something that DrBabylon doesn't believe in. He only takes 2 premium rounds on this entire tank. Something for me that it would be pretty crazy if you were to get into a tier 10 matchup, for example, as this tank doesn't have the best penetration at 208 on its standard rounds. DrBabylon is only using standard consumables. He's kind of got the best premium tank, but he's playing it in an incredibly economic way right now, and he's showing you what will be an absolute outrageous credit income later on in the game. So DrBabylon now finds himself in a 1 versus 6 scenario, albeit momentarily. He shuts down the Lerva as a Super Hellcat shuts down the T-29 on his team just before the German Tier 8 falls down. And now with 5 vehicles left on the enemy team, including a Leo who's fairly healthy, DrBabylon has 677 hit points against 2,401. Luckily for him, the Stridsvagn S1 is down to 3/4 of their hit points, meaning that DrBabylon is going to be able to shut them down in a single magazine. Tricky situation here. What do? Shoot the Lerva or shoot the Super Hellcat? I guess DrBabylon decides, considering the Lerva is reloading, shoot the Super Hellcat, shut that tank down, back off, take some more damage now from the artillery, meaning that he's actually a one-shot for the Leo as well. Luckily, the Leo ricochets the subsequent shell for 300 damage, now meaning that DrBabylon just has to be able to get that quick Czechoslovakian magazine reloaded to be able to not deliver 2 taps, but just 1 tap to the Leo. And an absolute bizarre scenario. The S1 on the enemy team, yeah, they just drowned themselves, ladies and gents. What a bizarre predicament here for the enemy team now, with 2 self-propelled guns and no tanks left. What was this S1 doing over here? Maybe he thought that he could try and come around the corner, maybe try and get into a bush to be able to help out his Leo, maybe try and use the hell ground, the high ground even. Looks like the slope was a little bit slippy, and look, DrBabylon has to be happy about this because he says, did not expect this, that drowning TD. Lol, lol indeed, DrBabylon. Although now the possibility of a Kolobanov spelt with a C instead of a K there by the Lerva on DrBabylon's team, who's called Mechetov 15, looks to be super excited, and I am all for it as well. But look, you don't count your Kolobanovs before they've hatched, boys and girls, and I can tell you, with 2 self-propelled guns on the enemy team and only 200 hit points, this is not a safe situation. So DrBabylon, having vanquished over half of the enemy team single-handedly with 8 kills to their name and 6,000 damage dealt in this Tier 8 Czechoslovakian heavy tank, now has 2 pesky pigs on the enemy team between him and Pool's medal glory. Thank goodness there are 2 vehicles left, and hopefully another one isn't going to drown themselves, otherwise DrBabylon wouldn't be able to get that glorious Pool's medal. Alright, so DrBabylon now knows that 1 self-propelled gun is inside the cap circle, and luckily enough, it looks like he has enough time to be able to get back towards the base, even though this tank is not the fastest. This is why I like to personally use a turbo on this tank to up the top speed limit to 39 kilometers an hour, enabling you to get into position faster, because this thing does look like it lumbers with this setup. But look, DrBabylon has shown what good gun handling on this tank is capable of, and maybe stacking the vert stabs and the rotation device will increase your close quarters, well, it definitely will increase your close quarters combat capacity. Alright, so DrBabylon lucky that a second self-propelled gun didn't start the cap. With 44 seconds left, he's going to come round the corner, and which artillery is it going to be, and which way is the artillery going to be aiming? Luckily, the S1's facing the other way, and DrBabylon, once again, fires early, as you should do in a vehicle like this. It only tracks the S1, missing the first shot, but that's why you've got the double tap for the Skoda T-56. Now, where is that GW Panther? Where is the pesky Tier 7 German self-propelled gun? Oh, we can hear the shell incoming! And it looks like it went over the mountain. And DrBabylon realizes this, figures out where the enemy artillery is going to be from where the shell came from and the explosion. And so now he knows, with the M4A3E2 pinging out the map at the G9 area, that he has to get over towards the enemy base to see if he can add to his 9-kill tally and secure the one that the lover apparently wants, the Kulubidov. So yeah, we're going to have to see whether it's going to be DrBabylon's day today or whether the final artillery on the enemy team is going to be able to ruin his parade. I always love seeing this. I love seeing close games like this. Everyone does, right? They're the most fun things about, one of the most fun things about any game, let alone World of Tanks. But I also love to see DrBabylon's team getting behind him here with Trappista. These all might be anonymizer names in the T29 saying GG, and Reg as well in the M4A3E2 pointing out where the artillery is. Oh, we had a chance to be able to win the game there, DrBabylon. Unfortunately, the shell didn't fly true, and the GW Panther still lives. Looks like they're scurrying around in the absolute pit at the back of the map. Luckily, it doesn't look like the GW Panther was able to spot DrBabylon, but he could manage to launch a shell out from here. Oh my word. Luckily, DrBabylon spots the GW Panther again, but this time he gets spotted. Does this mean the artillery is going to fire up at him? He's trying to find the shot, trying to see if he can manage to loop the shell over the ridgeline. DrBabylon weaves to the left, weaves to the right, closes the distance, fully reloads his tank, now having 2 shells momentarily entering the cap circle. I'm not sure if that was a good play. Now lets the artillery know where he is, and wham bam, thank you ma'am, shuts down the artillery at the end of the game and calls out a GG. Do you know what, DrBabylon? I can get behind that as well. This was definitely a GG, irrelevant of the fact that you're probably playing one of, if not the most overpowered premium tank in the game, and it shouldn't be any surprise that it's the newest one as well in World of Tanks. So DrBabylon calls this the comeback of the year, and I might think that might be pushing it a little bit. Look, DrBabylon, who am I to say? This was an incredible game and undoubtedly an incredible tank. And DrBabylon picks up a Pascucci's medal for killing 2 self-propelled guns, the one that the lover wanted, the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5 tanks, in this case 6, although one of them kind of ended up drowning themselves. Don't know what that S1 on the enemy team was thinking. Maybe he thought that his team had it covered and he had to go to T. DrBabylon also picks up a steel wall medal showing you just how durable the Skoda T-56 is, bouncing 2,180 damage and a high caliber for those 6,880 damage dealt, more than any tier 8 tank should ever have to deal in World of Tanks, 6 times more than anyone else on his team was able to do. And considering that literally half his team did nothing in this game, this was kind of one of those 1 versus 15 situations. And because DrBabylon doesn't believe in premium rounds, even in a close game like this, or premium consumables, yeah, he nets a cool 291,000 credits profit after we see the personal reserves and the battle payments go out. So, DrBabylon, congratulations to you on this absolute monster game of World of Tanks, and thank you so much to you for uploading it onto the What Replays website. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope all of you out there did as well. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And I just realized once again, after watching incredible games like this, how much I miss commentating on your replays. And so if you've got any good ones, upload them on the What Replays website, put QB or QuickyBaby, whatever you want in the title, and I'll try and feature some of the community's replays over the upcoming months. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you choose to get up to. I'm going to be seeing the new Ridley Scott film, The Last Duel, tomorrow, and I'm going to be finally getting to see June next week, although I'm jumping the gun. I'm already excited as to what's going to be happening next week, let alone this weekend. Have a great time, whatever you get up to, and hopefully I'll see you soon.